Hey guys, it's Doolin and this is Tablenauts, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. It is spooky month and I have 7 cooperative based games that I would recommend to all of you to try this spooky season. We have games that are for specifically 1 through 8 player range, so hopefully you find a game in here that not only do you like, but will hit the table at some point depending on who it is that you invited over. We're gonna start with what is probably the most obvious one, and in reality, I know that this is a solo only game, but I've played this at 2, and I actually think that it's a blast at 2 as well. So if you're on the fence about this because it is told to you that it's just solo, I really believe wholeheartedly that if you're a couple or if you have a best friend that is really into horror games, this could be fantastic for you to play with them. I'm of course talking about the beautiful horror genre collection that is Final Girl. In this game, you're going to have a bit of deck building as well as just managing your resources and managing your movement in order to defeat the monster for each scenario. If you have all of season 1 like I do, you can play any number of stories that kind of mimic different scenarios in actual horror films, whether it be a Jason type or a Nightmare on Elm Street type or a stereotypical clown with really nasty little puppets type. This game is great not only because of how it plays, but because of the amount of variety that is available to you if you purchase a bunch of these. If you haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend watching the gameplay video of Max and I playing this in sort of a Luke and Yoda feel, where I was coaching him on how to play. This game always feels incredibly tight and tense, as well as swingy, and the dice rolls in this game can be both frustrating and so rewarding at the same time. I would recommend this to anyone who enjoys not only thriller / slasher films, but also people who want to not only either play a game solo, but have the option to play with one other person and just enjoy the not only thematics of a great game, but have some really important dice rolls as you try to take a swing or retaliate or block damage. It is so fun, and it would honestly be a crime for me not to bring this up in Spooky Month, because it might be my favorite spooky game. This time we're actually gonna have a pick that you can play past solo and really past 2 player. And this is the 1 to 5 player game Horrified. And I am recommending right now the base game Horrified. I don't think that right now I would recommend the American Monsters one, even though many people seem to like that even more than this one. I think this is the better version. It's got all those classic Universal monsters like the Creature from the Black Lagoon or Dracula or Frankenstein or the Swamp Thing. Each monster, and you can choose how many you play with each round, that changes the difficulty dramatically, but each monster will have a different way that is extremely thematic to their movies that will be how you defeat them. I love this game because it has the feeling of like a pandemic where you're fighting the viruses, but that added asymmetry of the monsters makes this game so much more replayable, and even the theme is just better overall in my opinion. This game is colorful. It fits not only that horror like loving feel if you like classic horror, but also just a really cute game if you're a family that is looking for that kind of a thing. This game is colorful, it's cute, and overall it's actually a really well made game. I will say that just in my experience, it seems to be easier to play at 2 player than it is at 3, 4, or 5. The more players you add, the more greater of a chance that you're going to be trapped in a space for quite a bit of turns that the monsters are going to move and you actually get hurt and eaten and killed. If you're looking for a game that is, after you've learned the rules and everybody at the table knows the rules well, that you can throw on one of those classic Halloween movies and get to the table, I think this is perfect for that. This next game, I think it's completely defeated and made the original version of this game obsolete in my mind, because this is so much easier to get to the table. It's actually maybe a little more difficult, and that makes it better, and that is Mysterium Park. The original game was already really great, but they took what made the original great, put put it in a small package, gave it a Carnival theme, and made it able to be finished in about half the time. They even cut back on the setup time and the teardown time. I can't recommend, I really wish that they would actually put out a second edition of the base Mysterium in this box. That way I could just get rid of the original. I don't want it anymore, but I still want the cards, I still want the theme. And it's just frustrating to me that that's even on my shelf anymore because this always gets chosen over it. If you have any connections to Libelud, please tell them that we want the original, but in this box. Please, I would love it. It would, I guess I should say some things about this game though, but in this game, one player plays as a ghost player who is trying to communicate with all the other players, but they can't use their mouth. They can't even use like facial expressions. You're not even supposed to look at the players to give them clues. Your whole goal is to point each player to specific cards on this board that is available to everyone. The clue cards that you're gonna be giving players have a variety of very unique and very strange abstract art on them that will hopefully point them to suspects as well as places so that they can actually discover who murdered you and where. I would say this is a near perfect deduction party style game, and if you are looking for a possible gameplay of this, we actually have one. It's from our very first year being a channel, and it's where actually Max's brother Sam comes on our channel. Next game I have as a suggestion to you guys, it's actually a game that is not out yet, so I'm sorry, but you could potentially play it by next Halloween, which is a game that is perfect for this genre of spooky horror theme. It even has a New Orleans taste, and it's actually, the late pledge is on GameFound right now, so please go there if you're interested in this at all, because you don't have much time left to make sure that you get a copy of this eventually, and that is, of course, Lucky Duck and Van Ryder's combined game, The Dark Quarter. In this narrative dice manipulation style game, players will play these magical detectives that will go around New Orleans trying to solve specific crimes that get relayed to them. This really gave me almost a open world sandbox feel from video games where I have a variety of places that I can choose to go on my turn that might be helpful and might not be. Each player will also have these personal stories that will impact their character that you can choose to investigate or you can choose to specifically ignore so that you can get more of the main story. One person on their turn might decide to go to the crime scene and by observing the dead body discover some traces of blood or discover a specific weapon if they search well enough, finding out more about who the person that killed them might be, as well as what the possible motive might be. On the next turn, another player might choose to visit a specific relative's home, and based on the information that was discovered by another player, because I just assume it's kind of like CSI where you see them at the end of their specific story, they call up and they're like, "Hey, I just discovered this," and then that blows the case wide open. Or another person might choose to go to the suspect's home, and while they're there, find a person who is sneaking through some of their personal belongings, and they give way to a chase, and you have to chase them down and stop them, or if they get away, you see their footprint and discover some clues about who it might be. If you love these style of games, think The Wolf Among Us as a video game, or L.A. Noire. This is a game that invokes those feelings for me. I wish that I had my copy, because this was a prototype that was sent to us, but I loved it so much, I didn't even wait for them to say, "Hey, we'll give you a final copy of the game." I went ahead and backed it myself because I believe in this. I think it's incredible. They didn't pay us to say anything at this point of time. They might not even see this video. I'm just shouting this out because I saw that the late pledge is still available, and I still want some of you guys to not miss out on this. The next game I want to shout out is actually a game I don't own, but is in my top 20 of games of all time. It's an incredibly thematic cooperative game that is spooky and just a blast to play. Max owns a lot of it and is actually Cthulhu Death May Die. I already am a lover of the CMON big box game Zombicide Black Plague, and this is a scarier theme, I think, because zombies, I mean, yeah, sure, they're spooky, but Cthulhu, way spookier. But this game has the added fear of at any moment can a card be flipped, and not only will bad things happen to you and the players, but on top of that, the boss monster might spawn, or another spooky, difficult to defeat monster might spawn. You might not be prepared for at all. There's also the added fear in this game of going insane, which I've pretty much done every single time I've played this game. I'm not talking about literally, even though I might be insane. It's an actual like gameplay mechanic. Think Arkham Horror or any of those Cthulhu-based games. This game is a blast to play in a group. It is very dice-based, but there is still a lot of strategy involved. You can level up your character a bunch, so if you're into that type of game at all, you can also play it as a legacy-style game where there's a campaign involved. I think this game is a great choice. If you have not played this yet, find a way to either play somebody else's copy or get you the base games to try it, and then afterward maybe you want to grab the expansions too, because man, is it really good with some of those added expansions in. Another co-op game that I would love to recommend to you, and this is kind of teetering on the edge of what is considered spooky horror, but I still think that, you know, murder and investigation is still involved in the spooky genre, and that is, to me, a little game called Micro Macro, and I specifically am showing you the full house here, but Micro Macro, the base game, could also be thrown in there as well. In this game, think a Where's Waldo puzzle, but on this special map, you're going to be playing out scenarios as detectives trying to discover who murdered someone or who stole somebody's stuff, and man, does it get dark in this game sometimes. Luckily for those of you that are families, there are cards that specifically tell you at the very beginning of each of the scenarios whether it is family friendly or not. But this is an excellent, in my opinion, an excellent game for people to sit around a table and play together. I think it might play best at 2 because you guys can be working together. Solo is also an option, but I also think there's that added sense of discovery is best served with another person. And 2 eyes are always better than 1, so it's gonna be easier the more people you put around the table. But this is a great game for couples. I think it's a great game for families. I would highly recommend this to people who haven't tried it yet, and it's still fairly inexpensive to find and try out. I think that they're still planning to make a few more of these, and so I would recommend Micro Macro as a spooky game to try with your family. Before we get into the last game, I do just want to shout out to you guys. Thank you for watching this video. I would ask you if you enjoy it at all or still want to see more of this type of content, to please like and subscribe. It really does help. Leave a comment if you want to talk about your favorite cooperative game, as well as maybe talk about one that I recommended that you're gonna go try out now. I would love to hear that. But the last game is actually, this game is very silly. It's very lightweight. It's family friendly, and on top of that, just a blast to play in a group from 2 to 6 players. I think it's best at least 4, maybe higher, and that is, of course, Paranormal Detectives. This game is a combination of a party game, Clue, and also Mysterium, where one player is actually going to be playing the ghost who's trying to get the players around him to understand the who, the where, the why did they kill them, the how did they kill them, and then with what weapon. And if players around the table can discover all of those things by the end of the game, then you guys win. This can actually be played competitively, but I think it's best played cooperatively just because it's silly. Like, I think this game is best when every player is working together. At the beginning of the game, a player will flip over a scenario card to discover all of those things about themselves as the dead person. And then instead of playing cards like in Mysterium, other players will play cards to tell the ghost to do specific things with the available actions that they have. And some of these are wild, and I love it. On top of that, whenever a card is played to give the ghost player an action that they can do, the players have to ask some type of question that is not a yes or no question, and then the ghost chooses to answer it however they see fit. I think this game is best when the wackiest of cards get played, and the ghost player has to somehow convey how they died by drawing a picture with their finger on the person's back that played the card. And then listening to that person who has whatever it is being drawn on their back try to explain to every other player what they are feeling is so funny to me. There's also things like, you can ask the ghost, okay, where did you die? And then all of a sudden you played a card that they hold a pin with you and you have to be led with them drawing a picture on a sheet of paper. I do love even other ones where it's like answer with an inaudible sound from your mouth, or you have 5 seconds to pantomime around the room the answer, or go find something and point at it to help answer the question that somebody asked. It is a blast and really, really silly. And if you're a family that is looking for a game, or you're at a party with a group of people and looking for a game that is easy to learn and easy to explain to the players who are gonna be playing, I think Paranormal Detectives is a great choice for you. Well, that is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Again, please consider liking and subscribing, or joining our Discord, or finding some way to support us if you like us. We're very thankful for whatever you choose to do, but even if you don't, I hope that you have a great spooky season and enjoy playing some board games along the way. I'll see you guys next time.